Lots of us, myself included, found genetics really boring in school, so I thought I'd try to improve that with the addition of cats. Cats make everything better, right? So a couple of definitions first. DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, is the genetic instruction manual for all living things. I think of it as being like a massive cookbook. Within it there are chapters, maybe there's one for starters, one for cake, etc. These are a bit like the chromosomes our DNA is arranged in. We have 23 pairs, one pair of sex chromosomes, XX for women and XY for men, then 22 pairs of autosomes. Each chromosome contains hundreds to thousands of genes. These are like the individual recipes in that cookbook and contain instructions on how to make specific proteins. We all have 2 copies of each gene, one that we inherit from our mother and one from our father. Allele refers to the different versions of that gene. In this case, our long-haired cat has 2 copies for the gene for long hair. Her genotype, what copies of the alleles she has, is therefore LL. Phenotype means what trait is actually expressed and what can you observe, and in this case that's long hair. I've deliberately used lowercase here because this indicates that the allele is recessive. This means that 2 copies of this allele need to be present for that phenotype to be observed. If another cat had 1 copy of the short-haired dominant allele and 1 copy of the long-haired allele, that cat would have short hair. Punnett squares can be used to predict the genotypes of offspring from breeding. Say a homozygous recessive cat with 2 copies of the long-haired allele bred with a homozygous dominant cat with 2 copies of the short-haired allele. There's a 100% chance that the kittens will be heterozygous, as they can only inherit the long-haired allele from one parent and only the short-haired from the other. They'd all be short-haired because that's the dominant allele. That's a boring example, but you get the idea. Now, what if 2 heterozygotes bred? The offspring can inherit either the long-haired or the short-haired allele from either parent, so there's 4 possible combinations. There's a 50% chance of the offspring being heterozygous, then a 25% chance of the offspring either being homozygous dominant or homozygous recessive. Therefore, 75% of the kittens would be expected to have short hair, and only 25% would have long hair. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, look out for part 2 where I'll explain the more complicated cat coat colour genetics.